It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to educating, entertaining, and discussion of firearms, legislation, and your Second Amendment rights. Presented in part by the Illinois State Rifle Association, Illinois Gun Works, Safer USA, and Chuck's Gun Shop. Here's your host, firearm instructor, educator, and enthusiastic Second Amendment proponent, David Lombardo.
Welcome to On Target Radio, Chicago's voice for the Second Amendment. I'm David Lombardo, and my co-host, Tim Dalan, sitting across the council. Say hello, Tim.
Hello, Dave.
Happy to have you here, as we always are, every Sunday night, 9 to 10 p.m. Tim and I are here talking about shooting sports. And
it never ends.
No, personal protection and hunting and all things Second Amendment. And you, the listener, has the opportunity to call in and question our guests or make comments. And speaking of guests, Tim...
Oh, this excites me every week.
I know. For the 12th week.
12th week in a row. Wow.
It's hard to believe this is 12 weeks.
Has he been out of town or something?
I don't know. No, I'm not talking about him. I'm just saying us.
Oh,
we're 12 weeks.
Yeah, 12 weeks.
But anyway, for the 12th week in a row, we'd like to invite Chicago's Mayor Rahm Emanuel to come on our show and discuss his views on gun control. And Mr. Mayor, we respect your right to have your opinion, but we'd like to chat with you about it. That's fair, isn't it?
I think it's not only us. I think the people of Chicago, I think there are quite a few gun owners in Chicago, and I really think that they would like to hear the mayor voice his opinion on the subject and just sort of pay attention to what's going on and quit ignoring the topic.
Maybe chat a little bit about the murder rate. But you know what? I'm not judgmental, but someday. I think he'll come. Someday we'll get him.
We will.
Yeah, probably not soon. But having said that, this evening we are going to talk about tactical training, and we'll take your questions and or comments at 312-642-5600, or go to Facebook, like our page On Target Radio, and ask a question there. Tim, I think we need to offer to our listeners that we would like to have them join us at our Home Protection and Concealed Carry class on December 15th.
Yeah, we always have a good time there. Honestly, everybody else that shows up that attends really likes the class. We always have a good one.
And it's in Elmhurst.
It's in Elmhurst, yeah.
At the Masonic Lodge.
Masonic Lodge.
It is indeed. And it's good for Utah Concealed Carry. And with an optional shooting, it's good for the Chicago Firearms Certification and Florida.
Yes, it is.
So it's 8 hours of stuff that you just don't hear in most places. But the reason I bring that up is because I think that fits nicely into this evening's topic of tactical training. In the studio, we have three guests, Karen Bartuch, George Garay, and David Hakim. David and George are old friends, and Karen is a new old friend. Never mind. Whatever I say, I'll get in trouble. But Karen has been a law enforcement officer since 2002. In 2009, she founded the Women's Tactical Association, a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing life-saving skills training to both female and male law enforcement officers. Karen currently serves as its president. Based on her experiences in law enforcement and on requests from women all over the world, Karen is about to embark on her next project, Alpha Girls. And that will focus on bringing life-saving and other critical skills training to civilian women. She's passionate about the Second Amendment and empowering women of all ages. Karen, thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
And old friend George Garay is owner and head instructor of DMZ Tactical. George started shooting and training 20 years ago in the Marine Corps. I don't understand why I'm always surrounded by Marines.
Well, it's just that some class has to be brought into the studio.
That's true, but we let you in anyway. Anyway, as a Marine marksmanship instructor, George received multiple commendations for his unique approach to teaching key marksmanship fundamentals, and he continues to work and train with industry experts to bring new skill sets to his students. George specializes in bringing the special operations community knowledge and training to responsible civilians looking to improve their skills with specialized weapon systems. He's a member and instructor of the NRA and BCI, and also a member of the Illinois State Rifle Association. In addition to his passion for shooting, George is an avid pilot and dog lover. George, thank you for coming.
It's an honor. Thank you.
I'm happy to have you here. And last but certainly not least is David Hakim. David is director of the Midwest Academy of Martial Arts in Naperville. He's a multiple tour combat vet of the Global War on Terror and currently active in the law enforcement special operations community, serving as a veteran leader, operator, and trainer. David has over 25 years of experience teaching and training people from civilian, law enforcement, and military sectors. David, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So let's just start this off bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with a simple question. And Dave, why don't you take the first one? And that is, what the heck is tactical training exactly?
Sure, Dave. Tactical training, the way we look at it is basically taking the fundamentals of grip, front sight, trigger press that we all develop on the flat range as instructors and training them in scenarios that emphasize problem solving, decision making, and incorporate the geometric angles of the urban environment.
Well, that's short and sweet. I'm not exactly sure what the heck that means, though. But okay. Why would anyone take tactical training? What's the purpose? And anybody can jump in. Why would anyone take tactical training?
Well, I think that was a great definition, actually. But I think it's important to do that type of training because you need to put yourself under stress and test your skills that way. I mean, the days of static targets and, just shooting at a paper target in my mind are over. So we need to be able to put ourselves through stressful environment. And just what Dave was talking about, being able to move through a structure and do things quickly. So we're talking about fundamental shooting skills with whatever the weapon happens to be, but not in a static environment.
Correct. The way I teach it is you really have to put yourself in. Let's say you get a weapon system for home defense. You really want to learn how to use it in your home rather than just going out to the range on a static range shooting at paper targets. So by applying those core fundamentals in that type of environment, you're better able to survive a situation like that.
I have found over the years that there is a common misbelief that if you can put 5 shots in the size of a quarter at 21 feet, you're going to do just fine under pressure. And that is about as far from the truth as you can ever get. In fact, I always tell people that accuracy is a small part of tactical engagement. The rest of it is the bigger part. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we see anytime you put someone on a timer, that adds a whole new element, and then to have them moving and have other team members moving through a structure with them or doing, things combined with other people around you, it throws people off for sure.
Sure. Dave, I'd say that there's 2 basic skill sets. There's the flat range fundamental marksmanship skill set, and then there's the tactical skill set, which, as Karen was saying, incorporates time, incorporates decision-making, incorporates the use of movement and angles. And you won't be able to replicate your marksmanship accuracy once you start including more challenging factors. George and I have talked about the fact that we say that amateurs train till they get it right, and that's kind of what you get on a flat range. Professionals train till they get it wrong. So you find your failure points in a tactical environment and then dial it back and figure out how to dial up your fundamentals to meet that new challenge.
I think these courses that people take, a 4-hour Utah concealed carry course, for instance, and there are people who teach that course in 1 hour and take your picture and fingerprints, which astounds me. But they're producing people who are going out and carrying concealed firearm under the assumption that they need that they know what they need. And Tim and I always talk about a guy named Archelaus back in like 500 BC who said, we do not rise to the level of our expectation, but we fall to the level of our training. Most people who are carrying like concealed firearms today pretty much don't get training, and they just assume they're going to be okay.
It's that false sense of security, and I get this all the time. Well, I took my concealed carry class, so I already know how to holster because, again, we certify them to holster. And they say, I don't need that. I have my concealed carry permit. And just because you sit in a class and you learn more by actually doing it, and that just gives you the basic starting point. But if you never get out there and run your gun and run it, you're always going to fall to the level of your training. You're never going to come up to it.
It's a perishable skill.
Definitely.
It's not something you can learn on Tuesday, practice Wednesday, go home, forget about it for 6 months, and then assume it's going to be there.
But most people do that.
Exactly.
They never take the time.
That's what they do. We do have a question on Facebook for George, and the question is, this is somebody who is Ivan, who was your student. They were out this summer at one of your intro tactical training courses, and Ivan said it was a great time. Something that George was talking about was that he zeroed in his AR at a distance of 50 yards. I'm looking forward in purchasing my first AR weapon. Is this something I should be doing as well, or was it something that was unique to his weapon?
Well, without getting too much into detail, I zero at closer distances because my AR is used for close quarters type situations. There's less to worry about where, height over bore issues and stuff like that. But it depends what the shooter is primarily going to be shooting. If you're going to be shooting at 300 yards, I don't suggest zeroing at 50 yards or 25 yards. But if you're primarily using it for home defense type situations, that's something that I would consider.
Yeah, it's that's the other issue that people don't get. There's multiple situations, and you have to understand that one thing doesn't work for all situations. We're going to be right back after a few messages, and we're talking this evening about tactical training, and this is On Target Radio, AM 560 WIND.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And while we're on break, Tim, I had an epiphany.
There goes those big words again.
I did. I had an epiphany. You know what we need?
There's a bathroom over there.
No, listen, this is serious. You know what we need?
What
we need an intern.
An intern?
An intern.
Do they get paid more than I do?
No, interns don't get paid. Intern is Latin for slave.
Well, then they don't get paid any more than I do.
That's correct. Right. Intern is Latin for slave. But if any of our fine listeners know of, it would be great for like a college student in radio, TV, or maybe a high school senior. You got to have reliable transportation. You got to be able to be up till 10 o'clock here. But it'd be nice to have an intern. They could help us here, and then they could do some call-in stuff during the week unpaid. It's it's a low budget show.
Oh yeah.
But anyone that would like to do that, we had somebody from Aurora Sportsman's Club, a good friend of mine, send me a resume saying that he would do it, and I looked at it and I go, my God, he could be executive producer. It's an intern. He's going to get coffee. I didn't, it wouldn't.
Well, that's all right.
Bad.
I don't care.
I did.
I'll abuse your friends.
No, I just felt bad. I mean, I didn't want to mislead anybody. I mean, it's just but for like a high school senior or a college kid, it'd be great.
Oh, sure.
Be here in the station once a week and then do some stuff at home.
Right.
Anyway. As it is what it is. You're listening to On Target Radio and AM 560 WIND. And while you're out there listening to us, we will be happy to take your call at 312-642-5600 or go to Facebook, like our page On Target Radio, and feel free to ask questions and we'll answer them. We're talking tonight with Karen Bartuch, George Garay, and David Hakim about tactical training. We had been talking a little bit about how people sort of drop the ball and think that it'll be okay 2 years down the road. I would be interested in exploring a little bit, what experience should people have before they go and try and get tactical training?
Dave, I think that you definitely have some basic understanding of the fundamentals. You have to have an understanding of safe gun handling, how to load and unload without having an accident, knowing your target and beyond. And then you have to have the three fundamentals we talked about. You have to understand how to grip your weapon, how to align your sights, how to press the trigger. Once you have that down, I think you're ready for tactical training.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to add, and he's completely correct, I just like to add some, like what we do at DMZ Tactical is we start off from intro, which means no training at all. So we give them those core fundamentals, and then we bring them into like level 1 tactical training. And by doing that, they start learning the process of what we like to teach in tactical training of thumbs forward grip, natural active stance, those kind of things. They already start off getting sort of molded in that direction.
Right, you're already giving them good fundamentals.
Correct.
Yeah, we do the same thing with the Women's Tactical Association, and we feel that, advanced is really just doing the basics well. So we take the same approach.
Right, but are you saying, George, that you will take someone that has never been shooting before?
Correct. We do an intro to tactical training, and those are some of the best shooters that we've put through our classes have been shooters that have never held a handgun, and those are the ones getting high marks when it comes to actually completing whatever type of drill we're doing, because they don't have any set ideas And that was also like that in the Marine Corps. Whenever you took someone that had been shooting shotgun for 13 years and they got their own special way, well, when you try to teach them Marine Corps way, it's a lot harder to break those preset ideas or bad habits, if you will.
Same thing for female shooters as well.
The interesting thing about female shooters is that I did research at the University of Illinois, this is back in the 70s, not on shooting, it was about teaching people to fly. But what we discovered was women are hardwired for fine motor skills, whereas men are hardwired for upper body. And initially, in the ab initio stages, women tend to do better in the learning process of psychomotor skill things than men do. And then once you have the fundamentals, it's who practices the most. But typically, women are better at learning that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would agree. And with multitasking as well, which goes back to Dave's description of tactics. So, yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
We have a question and from a guy named Tim. It says, I was wondering if you can tell me what the proper way to deploy a small flashlight, non-gun mounted, a semi-auto pistol in home defense scenarios. Actually, that's kind of a complex question, Tim, particularly since you can't see us.
Yeah, that is a very complex question, and that has a lot to do with what kind of flashlight it is also. I mean, if you have a
back type.
Actuator on the back, if the actuator's on the front, depends on also the geometry of your house. That's probably something that's better fielded in a podcast or something. But in general, there's a couple different types of grips that are modifications of your standard shooting grip. There's like a Chapman grip with a flashlight. There's what are some of the other ones, George?
Well, basically,
it's kind of difficult to do when you're talking. I mean, it's something you have to see to really really understand.
But what I tell people is, just because it works for someone doesn't always work for somebody else. So it depends on your situation.
Exactly.
And we like to teach them always, and then they can see what better fits their body dynamics, if you will.
Right. But based on my experience, I would really advocate that you take that flashlight and use it as a secondary light, put a primary light on your weapon.
And just mount it.
Mount
it.
Yeah.
You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560 WIND. We're talking this evening about tactical training. Are all three of you currently doing tactical training open to the public?
Yes, I am.
George, you are?
I am too.
Karen, are you?
To limited extents with the Women's Tactical Association, most of our classes are geared towards law enforcement. We do have some that we allow civilians to attend, but I am starting a new project, Alpha Girls, which is going to focus all on civilian females.
And where are you doing that out of? Where are you doing most of your training?
Well, it's going to be a couple different locations wherever we can get a range in this gun-friendly state of Illinois. But we're going to do fitness, tactics, and firearms, so we're going to be bebopping all around between a couple different training locations.
Well, I'll have to just mention the Aurora Sportsman's Club.
Absolutely.
And Dave, where are you doing? You're doing mostly law enforcement, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Mostly law enforcement. Any civilian stuff that we do it out at the Aurora Sportsman's Club.
And George?
Primarily, most of our events and our classes are at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. And
Gosh, I got to get out there.
It's a fun place.
Well, I happen to know the president personally, and but no, it is.
I heard he's a little bit of a jerk.
Thank you so much for that, Tim. I pay you? Oh, no, I don't. That's why it worked out real well. Okay, so anyway, what kind of equipment is required to do tactical training? We got about 2.5 minutes. What do we need to get into tactical training?
Probably a gun first step.
Why? Thank you for that.
Right.
Pithy insight, George. See, he's a Marine. Yeah. He's a Marine. Ask him a question, you get the answer.
Well, for
Army guy, do you have any idea what we need?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of classes that Karen participates in and runs, and my classes kind of have that same mindset. You need a weapon. You need a storage system for extra ammunition, a light system. We advocate the use of armor if you have the budget and access to it. There's no sense in you putting on a weapon system and not putting on armor also.
Train like you fight, fight like you train.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that was just what I was going to add, that you would want the equipment that you're going to be using in the field with you in training.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. And to add on to that, since they primarily do law enforcement, on the civilian side, what I tell people is don't go out and spend $1,000. Get in first, see what you're really going to need. You don't understand what you need till you start learning those core fundamentals and how to run that.
And I would
gun
say
properly.
it's dynamic for sure. I mean, I was when we first got approved for wearing Molly vests, the vests where you can attach different pockets and things on it. I got all mollied out. My whole vest was covered, and then I got in a foot chase, and every pocket flew off, every extra mag. So it's a dynamic thing, and I think that's a good approach to go slow and get what you need first.
Is it safe to say that sort of the basic element in a tactical situation is going to be an AR? Isn't that probably the most common?
It depends on
carbine.
Most people are. Well, I'm just talking the civilian side. Most people, their primary is going to be a handgun.
Right, but
I would say I would agree that the easiest weapon to carry around with you is a handgun. But I think the best weapon to solve a problem with is a shoulder-mounted weapon.
Definitely.
And so, kind of in our world, in the special operations law enforcement world, we start out with shoulder arms, and then if that fails, then we drop down to a handgun. If that fails, we drop to a blade. If that fails, we go to empty hands. But in general, if you're, when I was working plain clothes or anything like that, there's a need to carry up a handgun then.
A famous man in the world of fighting once said, "The .45 is the greatest gun ever built. Fight your way back to a rifle." We will be back in just a few moments. This is On Target Radio, AM 560 WIND, and we will be back with more tactical training. Hi, I'm David Lombardo, host of On Target Radio. You're living proof that radio advertising reaches listeners. In the 2 years I've been advertising on AM 560 WIND, Safer USA grew from 300 students a year to over 1,200. By coupling our On Target Radio broadcast with our Facebook page, we found our audience is steadily growing, and in only 2 months it appears we've exceeded 5,000 listeners. Over 34% are in the age group 25 to 34, 26% are 35 to 44. We have listeners from Rockford to Western Michigan and Southern Wisconsin to St. Louis. Thanks to live streaming on the internet, we also have listeners as far away as Germany, Japan, and New Zealand. On Target Radio is offering low-cost sponsorship opportunities on Chicago's premier conservative talk radio station. Advertising on AM 560 WIND has worked for Safer USA. Let me show you how it can work for you. Call 815-744-5487. Join the On Target Radio team today at 815-744-5487.
We now return to On Target on AM 560 WIND. If you have a question or opinion, the studio line is 312-642-5600. Now, here's your host, firearm expert and educator, David Lombardo.
We're back with more On Target Radio, and this is the magic moment that Tim has been waiting for.
All week I've been waiting for it.
And it's Tim's Fighting Back segment brought to you by the Illinois State Rifle Association.
This past week, on Tuesday, our elected officials dutifully trudged back to Springfield for the fall veto session. Senate Bill 681 was one of the items up for consideration and should have been on the radar of every gun owner in the state. SB 681 allows FOID card holders to mail-order ammunition purchases from in-state licensed firearm dealers. Ammunition purchases from out-of-state dealers are already allowed under Illinois law, so this should have been a no-brainer. The problem was that several weeks ago, and speaking of no-brains, the governor decided to illegally gut this bill and try to rewrite it as a statewide assault weapons ban. However, in a win for gun owners and the sporting community in Illinois, State Senator Dave Lutchfeld on Wednesday led an override of the governor's misguided attempts in a 46-4 vote. This coming week, the Illinois House will also vote to override Governor Dimbulb's rewrite of the bill. What we need now is for every single one of our listeners to fight back against the governor. I strongly urge you to call your elected representative in the Illinois House to politely encourage them, and I do mean politely, encourage them to do the same as their brethren in the Senate. If you're not sure who your rep is, you can go to the Illinois State Board of Elections website or at elections.illinois.gov. No firearm owner in this state can afford to believe that because of our strong vote in the Senate that this is in the bag. Call tomorrow, then call again on Tuesday. Don't forget. This has been Fighting Back, brought to you by the Illinois State Rifle Association.
For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has supported the rights and freedoms of Illinois citizens to keep and bear arms. For over 100 years, the ISRA has supported the use of firearms as a sport for personal protection and as a fundamental aspect of national defense. For over 100 years, the Illinois State Rifle Association has been supporting you. Don't you think it's time you supported them? isra.org or 815-635-3198. That's 815-635-3198. The Illinois State Rifle Association, supporting you. I take it you don't much care for the governor.
Have you ever listened to the gentleman speak before?
No, I avoid it.
Yeah, well, it's...
Dim bulb.
Yeah.
Yeah, dim bulb. Okay, interestingly enough, we have a question that is going to go right into what I want to talk about next, lady and gentlemen, and that is some recommendations on firearms that are appropriate. And the question comes from Joe, and he says, he asks, is there a type of ammunition for a shotgun in a home defense situation? I live in a townhome, so I share a common wall with a neighbor. I never cease to be amazed at how many people say, well, I have a shotgun. That way I won't overpenetrate it and shoot into my son's room. What alternate universe do they live in?
Yeah, I have no idea, Dave. Any ammunition can go through any wall, given, it depends on distance, construction.
A shotgun, like double-aught buck, will blow a freaking huge hole in your wall. I don't know what they're thinking.
1 ounce of shot, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but I believe 1 ounce of shot coming out of a 12 gauge leaves the barrel at about 2,100 foot-pounds. So I can't imagine what a wall would be made out of that 2,100 foot-pounds did not blast through.
And yet, we hear this in the seminar. People say that.
Right.
Oh, I have a shotgun. It's safer. What?
I think there's a lot of myths out there. There is some better ammunition than others, especially in the shotgun market, to avoid, not completely stop that penetration, but to minimize it. But yeah, the best way to do it is do your research and actually take some classes. DMZ Tactical Officers. Shotgun classes.
Shameless proselytizing there, George. You're listening to AM 560 WIND Radio. This is On Target Radio. Real quick, we have a minute and 30 seconds. Tell me, I'm just going to go around the room. Number one, if you were going to buy a tactical shotgun, George, what type would you buy? What would it be?
Remington 870 Tactical Pump.
David?
Mossberg 5.9.
Karen?
I'm going to agree with George, Remington.
Okay. What if you were going to buy a handgun? George?
Smith & Wesson MMP 9.
Yeah?
Any Glock that indexes well for you.
There you go.
Glock 19.
See, look at this. George, you're in a minority here. Okay, now we get to the magic one. What about a carbine?
Carbines, like Dave and I were talking, any mil-spec carbine, shorter barrel if you're looking for home defense, 16-inch and 16, 18-inch.
Ducking the question, George. Pick one.
I personally like Daniel Defense, but that's just me.
David?
Rock Rivers, Bushmasters are kind of on the lower end of more affordable. If you can afford them, PWS, Wilson Combat. I think more than the make, as long as it's mil-spec, getting a 1-in-8 twist ratio in the barrel, you can stabilize a lot of different kind of 5.56 ammunition out of that.
I have 3 ARs, and my Wilson Combat that's a sweetheart. That's just a great gun. Karen?
Yeah, I'd go with the Rock River on the lower end of the price range, and then I have an LMT, and I love it.
One of the interesting things, and we're about to go to commercial break, but one of the interesting things is if you shoot a 55 grain out of an AR, you're less likely to go into your neighbor's house with it. We'll be right back with more On Target Radio and Tactical Training after these messages.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And we're back with more On Target Radio, and this evening we are talking about tactical training. We have a call from Noel. Noel, ask your question.
Yes, I was wondering if there's a tactical indoor range in the Chicagoland area where you could actually move and shoot versus just standing there and shooting.
Anybody?
None that I'm aware of.
Yeah, locust chirping. There isn't one that I know of.
Not for the civilian side.
Yeah,
but,
not for civilian side.
Hopefully soon.
You used to be able to rent the upstairs range at was it Midwest and Lions?
Midwest, yeah.
But I've heard that are they converting that just to be a a lane type range now?
I think it's all lanes now.
Is it? I think it is too. Maybe if Noel's listening, he'll call him. But Noel, the other Noel, none that we actually know of.
Okay.
And if you have a couple million, Noel, we'll build one.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. And
Right.
I'd just like to say DMZ's a great shooting experience there.
I just thank you very much for calling, Noel. Have a good evening. Tell me, George, did you pay these guys to call?
I know,
Everybody's
lots of
calling
love
about,
for DMZ
everybody's calling
today.
about DMZ. What the
Is
heck
your
is
mom
that
calling
about?
next?
I don't know about that.
She's on Facebook.
Joe in Frankfurt. Joe, another one of George's students. Joe?
How you doing? I took one of George's courses over the summer, but I work a lot of hours, and it's really hard for me to get to the range. I was wondering if there's some things I could do to help keep up my skills when I can't get to the range.
Look at this dead silence. Everybody looks at me. Okay, I'll answer this one. There is a thing called a CERT, S-I-R-T, and who was that? I forget, George.
Mike Hughes from Next Level Training.
Next Level Training. Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting. The one that they originally came out with is essentially a Glock. They are making some other models, but it's basically a very sophisticated laser gun, and it has interchangeable mags, weighted mags like an actual loaded Glock, and you can do, I would say, probably 90% of basic training: grip, trigger squeeze, sight alignment, mag changes. I mean, you've used it, haven't you?
Yep. I think what a lot of people that are getting into the industry or want to get better and more proficient, they think they have to go to the range and fire rounds downrange, and that's inaccurate. When I'm practicing for a competition, most of my training is actually done dry firing at home. I'll sit there and watch a movie with my fiance, and she'll be sitting down on the couch, and I'll be just dry firing at a point on the wall. And I'll do that. I'll do mag changes. That's where you actually get that muscle memory. Shooting bullets downrange is a little more expensive, but you're only going to do that so much. So the professionals actually get better by dry firing.
You know what I do, and yet another reason why I can't find a date to save my life, but I'll sit and watch television with a CERT in my lap, and I will come up with whatever it is, some cue, and when a dog appears or the color red appears, whatever it is. But when something appears on the screen, that's my trigger. And as soon as I see it, I pick up the gun and I aim at it on the TV screen. So that's keeping your sort of senses working for you.
Correct.
Great.
Target identification.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate the phone call.
Thank you very much.
We've had a number of questions on Facebook about Aurora Sportsman's Club. If you will call in, the person who answers the phone, our call screener, will tell you everything you've ever wanted to know about how to become a member of the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Robin is our call screener, and she also does marketing for ASC. So it's not really a tactical subject for the evening, but she can take care of you. We are on Target Radio, and this is AM 560 WIND. We're talking about tactical training this evening. So here's a big question. What does this kind of stuff cost? We're talking about an M&P. We're talking about a Glock. What sort of money are we talking about? ARs, shotguns?
Well, on the pistol side, an M&P is going to cost you under $500. Get a holster and a magazine carrier of your choice, and just start there. And then don't go out and buy a battle belt. Don't go out and buy all the tactical stuff. Wait till you see what you need, and then work your way up. If you don't know how to use it, you shouldn't be buying it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that too many people get into getting gear before they learn how to shoot, getting optics before they learn how to shoot iron sights. I think that you can make your minimal investment of equipment and a lot of the tactical training, as we just talked about, you can do dry. You can save a lot of money there.
It's funny when you, particularly around Aurora Sportsman's Club, because there are so many training companies that are using it, you can pick them out. I mean, it's this equipment that is clearly brand new. I mean, it's just brand new. Everything's brand new and shiny. It's you stand out.
It's the mall ninjas. That's what we call them.
What?
I call them personally mall ninjas. The guys that don't know how to shoot, but they put on all the gear and everything, and they go out to the range and they're hitting minute of barn door.
Yeah,
or you go to a gun show or something like that, and here comes one walking through. It's got all the Molly gear on and an empty drop leg holster, and
but you know what? And see, here's the funny thing, because I did the same thing. Everybody does.
You wore an empty drop leg holster.
Yeah,
to the gun show?
well, not empty, no, but you know what? I mean, what happens is people get into this as they do in anything. aviation. It doesn't matter what it is. You get into it and you're excited and you see somebody who knows what they're doing and you want to emulate them. You don't realize that you just don't, it's not about gear. And one of the things that we talk about in the seminar is we teach the way to hold a handgun, period, so that you can pick up any handgun on the planet and fire it. It's about technique. It's about understanding of what you're doing. It's not about the equipment. If you're a warrior, you don't need any equipment. You can make do with your bare hands.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
Karen, can you just strangle something, kill something? Could you take out Dave for me?
I'm thinking about it.
Okay,
I'm
I
thinking
can do
about
that.
it.
We're going to be back after these messages to wrap up On Target Radio, and you're listening to AM 560 WIND. Hi, I'm David Lombardo, host of On Target Radio. You're living proof that radio advertising reaches listeners. In the 2 years I've been advertising on AM 560 WIND, Safer USA grew from 300 students a year to over 1,200. By coupling our On Target Radio broadcast with our Facebook page, we found our audience is steadily growing, and in only 2 months it appears we've exceeded 5,000 listeners. Over 34% are in the age group 25 to 34, 26% are 35 to 44. We have listeners from Rockford to Western Michigan and Southern Wisconsin to St. Louis. Thanks to live streaming on the internet, we also have listeners as far away as Germany, Japan, and New Zealand. On Target Radio is offering low-cost sponsorship opportunities on Chicago's premier conservative talk radio station. Advertising on AM 560 WIND has worked for Safer USA. Let me show you how it can work for you. Call 815-744-5487. Join the On Target Radio team today at 815-744-5487. 5487.
You're listening to On Target on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
We're back with more On Target Radio, and this is the bitter end, lady and gentlemen. Tell us a little. We'll start with Karen. Karen, if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Well, I'm all over social media. So for the Women's Tactical Association, it's Facebook, Women's Tactical. The website address is womenstactical.org. And Alpha Girls is Alpha Girls 6 on Facebook and Alpha Girls 6 on Twitter. And the website, which was launching in January, is alphagirlpower.com.
And what you have just like beginner's lessons?
We're going to really run the gamut. We're kind of taking the model that we've used for the Women's Tactical Association, and we're going to bring it to civilians. So it's going to cover everything: firearms, fitness, tactics, and combat mindset. And we're going to have beginner to advanced level.
And that will be on your website in January.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the goal of it is to really bring more women into the fold, to bring more women into the shooting and tactical community, and to teach them how to protect themselves and their families.
Super. Thank you. David?
Best way to get a hold of us and find out what we do is go to our website, which is www.midwestacademy.com, all one word. Basically what we do is we run a experience-based, kinesiology-oriented, single platform system that covers the gamut from empty hand all the way up through rifle.
Can you repeat that in English?
Yeah, sure can. So basically, what we do is we teach you how to use your body correctly. It does not matter if you are defending yourself using hands and feet, grappling, stick blade, pistol, rifle. There's basically a science behind how to use your body the most effective way, and that's basically what we teach and how what our training is based in.
So your martial arts studio is not about dance lessons?
Oh, no.
And last but certainly not least, George, tell us how people can get, like you need any more people to get a hold of you. I go out there and his students take every parking space available so that my 2 students don't have a place to park. Go ahead, George. Tell us how you get 1,300 at a whack.
DMZTactical.com and also Facebook.com/DMZ Tactical. We do everything from intro level classes all the way to advanced carbine, shotgun, pistol classes. We just recently acquired, for you guys that don't know, the Barrett 50 cal sniper rifle. So that's a big thing we're going to be doing next year. And we're offering coming up here in the next week and a half a Groupon and Living Social for our new theme-style, carnival-style event. So please look out for that. And I appreciate everyone's support.
And you do, I joke because
George, do you offer one-on-one training?
Yes, we do one-on-one training. It would just depend. It's more of a logistical thing.
Oh, okay.
But we do offer it.
Do both of you offer one-on-one?
Oh, we do not.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
In everything from combatives to firearms, fitness, personal training.
Super. Well, thank you to our guests, Karen Bartuch, George Garay, and David Hakim. I appreciate you all for coming in this evening. Thanks to Robin Zeeland, our call screener, and George Hoffman on the board. We'd like to thank our sponsors, as always, Illinois Gun Works, Chuck's Gun Shop, Pelcher Shooter Supply, Illinois State Rifle Association, our website developer, 31 Moons, and, of course, Safer USA. Next week, we are going to be talking about youth law enforcement programs. Deputy Terry Ellingham is going to be on from the Will County Sheriff's Department Law Enforcement Explorers, and Jeff Hanley, Director of the Criminal Justice Program at Grundy County Vocational Center, is going to be on. So until then, be sure to friend us on Target Radio on Facebook. Tim, say good night, Tim.
Good night, Tim.
Just once.
Once.
You're going to do it straight. You know what I'm saying? One
Good
time.
night, everybody out there. Remember to call your House representative tomorrow. Make sure.
Yes.
Yeah, we got to look at that. We got to take care of ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves,
who will?
Who will?
That's right. Say good night to your mom and dad.
Good night, Mom and Dad. They are in Arizona.
Thanks.
For the winter.
Thanks for listening. We hope to see you next Sunday night at 9 p.m. for more On Target Radio. And thanks, Mike, for making it all possible.